Okay, moving you. I'm actually going to move you ahead of the trig class today, And you're going to actually solve these equations for the x variable. I looked at JMC. They're not on this yet, so that's kind of cool that you guys are progressing that quickly. That's a tribute to you, more than me. Okay, you got to solve the equation. Now this time you have an equation. It's got three ratios, so you can't do the A, B, C, D. That doesn't even make sense. Okay, so what you're going to do is extend the lines. So that line, you just actually the two fractions being added. Actually write those first, and then turn the equation around. Okay. Now, the expressions that got pluses and minuses need to be parenthesized. These will just drop down. You drop down the tops anyway. You just look at the bottoms, to be honest with you. Whoops, we turned that around, so we're going to put -3. Since that ratio is by itself on one side, we'll put the 4 here and then 7 here. Now let's look at the expressions on the bottom. So I've got x minus 2. It's two terms. There's no GCF. There's not a dots, so that's a prime expression, which we're going to leave. Okay, that's no GCF. That's not a dots, so that's a prime expression. We're going to leave it. Okay, now the x squared plus 3x minus 10, okay. You know it doesn't have a GCF, okay. So I'm going to make a t-table right there. And ABC would be 1 times -10. It's -10, so you need a positive and a negative, and we're going to try to add that to get +3. 1 and 10, that's -9. 2 and 5 is -3, but that since I have the right number, I'll just switch the signs, and it's negative. Now, my x squared, it has an implied 1 in front of it, so that means we can just factor it as x minus 2 and x plus 5. Okay, now you have to find the lowest common denominator for all of these fractions. Okay, we all want them to have the same denominator. So I've got a parentheses x minus 2, a parentheses x plus 5, and then I just have another x minus 2. Well, I already wrote that down. And then x plus 5 I already know I have. So x minus 2, I got 1, 0, 1. So that's 0. We need to raise that up so it also has 1. So we're going to put an x minus 2 and x minus 2. X plus 5, I have 0, 1, 1. Okay, so that 0 we're going to raise up 1, so it has an x plus 5. Okay, now what you get to do if you have an equation, instead of just adding them together, you can actually cancel out the bottoms once they all become the same, okay? So over here, you know you got a 4, and over here you're going to distribute. That's -3x minus 15. And then distribute there, that's 7x minus 14. Okay, now we're going to combine the like terms over here. Those get combined, and that's 4x. Then -15 and -14 get combined because that's minus 29 equals 4. Then I add 29 to each side. That's going to be 33. Divide by 4. You can divide that and write the decimal, or it's 8.25, or you can just leave it 33/4 or 8 1/4. I don't care how it's written. Okay, just get the... I don't think he does over there either. Okay, now in my next one, okay, same idea. And also, you always want a plus sign. Well, hold that thought. Yeah, you want a plus sign every time. If you have a minus, you go want to fix something, okay? So again, extend your lines because you're trying to get all the denominators to be the same. Again, parenthesize that, and then the tops will just drop down. You don't really have to worry about the tops being factored. You want to put parentheses around them if they have plus and minus, but you don't really have to factor them. 2x plus 3, there's GCF's 1, and it's not a dots. X minus 1, no GCF. It's not a dots because it's not to the second power. And then this here needs to be factored. That's a 1 right there. Okay, there's no GCF to it, so I multiply the 2 by -3. It's -6. Positive, negative. We're trying to get it to add to +1. That's -5. That's -1, so I'm just going to switch the signs to negative, positive. Now you're at +1. Okay, now remember, the a was not 1 here, so it's not x minus 2 and x plus 3, okay? So what I would recommend is just to make it go quicker, put a 2x and a 2x in front of that, and you can see 2 and 2 can be divided by 2, so that becomes x minus 1. And over here, 2 and 3 wouldn't be able to be reduced, so that's going to be that's going to stay 2x plus 3. Again, it's like I'm making the 4 parentheses. I'm just doing it from the table. I'm just putting I got the -2 plus 3, and then I just put, since a is not a 1, it's just going to be 2x, okay? Then x minus 1 and 2x plus 2x minus 2 is what it started with. You know you can divide that by 2. And that would stay the same. So again, that's how I end up with what I do. I'm going to start just putting them on the table because it goes quicker. So your LCD, you got a parentheses 2x plus 3. You've got a parentheses x minus 1. You've got another, and then you got the same stuff on that one. So this is going to be like the last one. So 2x plus 3, you got 1, 0, 1. So I raise that up by 2x plus 3. X minus 1, 0, 1, 1. So you raise that up by x minus 1. And that's gone because it's all the same now. So you got 1 on this side. That's going to be negative 4x plus 4 because you're taking a negative times a negative. This is going to be 2x plus 3. And then the same thing happens. I combine the like terms of x. Combine the like terms there, plus 7 equals 1. Then I subtract 7. That takes me to -6, and I divide by -2, and that's 3. Okay, next one. When you have a minus, that could be trouble. So what you're going to want to do is make it plus, and then make that a -x, put a 1 in front of it if it's negative, and then make the +4 a -4, and then you're good. Okay, you just change the top of the fraction after it, you just change. That's all you have to do on that one. Now, if it's got a plus, it goes in parentheses, or a minus, okay? That goes in parentheses, parentheses, not in parentheses, parentheses. Now, we just drop the tops down. They don't have to be factored, because technically the GCF there would be -1, but you're not going to factor the top. That's a waste of time, because it's just going to be multiplied by something anyway. Okay, now the bottom, x squared plus 2x has a GCF of x, okay? Here, I'll just do that on this paper here. So, x squared plus 2x, okay, has a GCF of x, so I factor that out. And that's going to be x plus 2. So I need to rewrite that as x times x plus 2. This one here also has a GCF of x, okay? X squared plus x does. So x comes out. You're going to end up with x, and then you write that as 1, okay? When you're dividing x by itself and you have nothing else to put there, 1. So that's x times x plus 1. Okay, that's a trinomial, so a is an implied 1. 1 times 2 is 2 positive, so the signs would be the same. We're trying to add it up to positive 3. That's -3, so if I just change the signs, I'll have positive 3. Now, I didn't have anything in front of the x, so it's just x plus 1, x plus 2. Both in parentheses, though. Okay, LCD is a little bit different here, okay? First thing, you have what's called an outside x, okay? Outside x, okay? Then I have the parentheses x plus 2, another outside x, parentheses x plus 1, and then over here I have two things I already have. So the outside x, I have 1 here, 1 here. And 0 outside x is here. These are both inside, so that's 0. So we raise this up so it's 1. So we'll put an x in the front, then we'll put an x with the negative 3. Now x plus 2, what do we have? Okay. We got 1, 0, 1. So I want to raise that 0 up by a factor of x plus 2. X plus 1, I've got 0, 1, and 1, so I want to raise that up by a factor of x plus 1. Now this looks kind of intimidating, but it's not going to end up anything big, okay? Here you have to do the FOIL method. X times x is x to the second. You know you just got I'm just going to put equals negative 3x all the way down there. X times 1 is 1x. 1 times x is 1x. 1 times 1 is 1. Then I go FOIL the other side. Now, negative 1x times 1x is going to be negative 1x to the second. That's a negative 1x second. Negative 1x times 2 is negative 2x. Negative 4 times 1x is negative 4x. And then negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Now, look at all your like terms. Well, your x seconds are going to go bye-bye because you got a 1 and a negative 1. So those are just disregarded. Now your x's, we got a 1x, a 1x, a negative 2x, and negative 4x. I just combine those. So we know that's 2. Minus 2 is going to be, means it cancels. So now you're at 0, and then you got the negative 4x. So really all you end up with is a negative 4x because 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0, and then minus 4x is negative 4x. So after all that mess is over, that's where we're at. Then you got 1 and negative 8, okay? That's going to be negative 7 equals negative 3x. Okay, now you're good to go. You're going to add 4x to both sides because now you got x's on opposite sides. So that's negative 7 equals 1x, and we don't really need to divide by 1. Negative 7 is the answer. Okay, and then the next one. Again, I'm not a fan of that plus, so make it plus, put a 1 in front, make that negative, make your 3 into a negative as well. So again, I parenthesize where I have plus and minus. And the top I don't have to worry about. Even if it can be factored, you don't really care about it because you're just going to multiply it by something anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, that's no GCF, but that's an obvious dot. So it'd be x plus 1 times x minus 1. Okay, x squared minus 2x, or x squared minus x, sorry. That does have a GCF of x, and then you divide both those by x, and that's x minus 1, which is not a dot, so I just rewrite that expression as x times x minus 1. And then this is going to be the same thing as that one, except it's going to be x and then x plus 1. Okay, so LCD, we have a parentheses x plus 1, parentheses x minus 1. You have outside x. And the rest of this is crap I already have. X minus 1, I already have that. X, outside x, already got that. X plus 1, I already wrote that down. So x plus 1, I got 1, 0, 1. So the 0 in the middle, we got to raise it by a factor of x plus 1. X minus 1, I got 1, 1, 0. So the one that has 0, I have to raise that up by x minus 1. And then outside x, by the way, the top doesn't count, okay? You just look at the bottom. The bottom does not have an outside x, so you have 0. Right there and right there. So we raise that up by an outside x. We put it in the front, and then we multiply that. Okay, so equals, try to space your equals so you're at the end here, because that one's an easy one. That's negative 3x plus 3. The rest of it's kind of a bunch of mishmash. X times x is x to the second. Then here I do the FOIL method. First, negative 1x times 1x is negative 1x squared. Negative 1x times 1 is negative 1x. Negative 3 times 1x, negative 3x. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. So x seconds, I have a 1 and a negative 1. They cancel. For x's, I'm going to combine those, and that's negative 4x minus 3 equals negative 3x plus 3. So I'll add the 4x to both sides. You can add the 4 or the 3, it doesn't matter. So negative 3 equals 1x plus 3, and then minus 3 minus 3. Negative 6 equals 1x.